All right, there we go. We are live 9:13 Eastern on a Monday night. We are missing out on the Celtics game for you guys. I'm kidding. But happy Monday, everyone, and hello, JB. Start of a new week. How's it going, man?
I can't believe we're missing the Celtics. I'm beside myself. That's the dedication to the audience, but I do have it queued up on, recording and I can just skip right through the commercials, so won't be too bad.
I like it. I like it. But yeah, how's things going? How's Happy Father's Day yesterday? How's the weekend?
Thank you. Yeah, happy Father's Day to everyone in the audience as well. I know that we've got a lot of fathers that play the game, so it's just the demographic, for for this game. So it went good. Had a good family day. Went out to brunch, a good spot, and took a little over in Marlboro. They have like kind of this pier like around the lake that you can kind of walk around. It's like a couple-mile walk, and you kind of like go out into the water. So
Nice.
that was pretty nice, and yeah, just enjoyed the weather. How about you? How was the weekend?
It's the best. It was great. Went to the Cape on Saturday. I had a my friend's son's fourth birthday party, but we make it a little bit of like a friend reunion. So we'll get down to the Cape, and we were out at the Plymouth Public House after for like just drinks and live music, and then Father's Day yesterday was just like a big, not big, like five of us like barbecue, my parents' house patio, this and that. But great weather, and I could definitely use a nap at this point. There's a lot going on, but it was a good time, so worth it.
Always good to get back with the family, do the cookouts. It was perfect day for it, perfect weather. It was actually beautiful out again today, so got outside again today.
I love it. It's true. Evening to everyone joining the chat now, VJ and Eric and all you guys. But yeah, we got a great lineup of topics tonight. Notably, the new Gilgamesh unit, which we'll go through. And we do want to give a quick shout out again to WOTV-CALC as well. Many of you rely like us on WOTV-CALC. We'll do a little shout out to them and we'll circle back on that. But we'll talk about a new mode of content, the Rairyu's treasure hunt that's being introduced this week for maybe some people that need to catch up on different kinds of equipment. We have Guild War Supremacy announced. That's starting the 21st. So we'll talk a little bit about what that entails and maybe our goals, who knows what. But we have some equipment upgrades that are very light, but a couple that are noteworthy. And we do have now the official stats on Seifer and a little bit about his vision card, which we did not know about last week. So we'll look at Seifer now with a closer magnifying glass, the vision card, maybe some stuff on Final Fantasy VIII that we also got confirmed. We'll see how the time goes. But other than that, we got some topics here toward the end of, which units we think might be the strongest, pros and cons of pulling or not pulling, and we'll talk about some of our favorite summer units that maybe Gumi could be touting out soon enough. But for now, let's kick it off with a quick WOTV-CALC shout out. And this was your idea, JB, and we did this a while ago and always need to revisit it. Bismarck is the owner of WOTV-CALC, and he runs this. He is a former player, does not play anymore, so he still updates this for fun as a project. Who knows what it is, but he does have a Patreon. He does, as a subscription price, look for $1 or $5 a month. I think we got him. I mean, a good majority of this the last time we did this promotion, but we have to re-emphasize this. He just moved IRL, like in real life recently, and costly thing to do, and we want to support the guy. We want to make sure that he knows we appreciate the website, how necessary it is for us. And so for those that of you watching, for those of you playing, for those of you that use it, I'll let you get on your soapbox in a second, JB. But I mean, we cannot emphasize enough. Everyone, please subscribe to this Patreon for a gotcha game. For how many hours we sink, for how much money we just huck at Gumi over the course of time, to not be able to spend $5 a month on the most critical tool we have available to us, not only for like the average player, but us as content creators. And it's not just units, it's everything. Like Trials of Reckoning is going on this week. Like you want the data on the different stages so you can go min max your scores. You want to be able to go look up espers and play with the builder and see what nodes you can get before you do something. Like there's so many upsides to this site, but I'll pause there. Keep it going.
Yeah, I think everything you said there is spot on. But I just want to say, not only was he moving, but he apparently had some issues with the movers where some of his PC and equipment that he uses to maintain the site did get damaged, and he had to buy some new stuff. And he sort of did that post haste so that he could get back and get this update for us this week. So fully appreciated to Bismarck, and he absolutely I think it would be a good token from the community to kind of pay it forward and give him a few bucks here to kind of help him out through that situation. So if you can spare $1, please do so. If you can spare 5, even better. You know, please, support him and this website because it's essential.
Absolutely is. 10,000%. Can't say it enough. We'll probably say it at the end, just in case for anyone that might have missed it. But um, we'll segue next to the big, shiny new piece of content being introduced to the game, which is the Gilgamesh. And what's the name of it called? It's Gilgamesh, the
Breaker of the Scourge.
Breaker of the Scourge, because that did get translated a little bit differently initially. We obviously did know about Gilgamesh for a couple of weeks now. Brand new ice unit added to the game. He's a sword red mage unit. I think everyone's very excited. He did win that character popularity poll apparently from a little more recently, where they announced it was he, and I believe this is that reveal. But yeah, what are you thinking about Gilgamesh so far? I mean, been a couple weeks.
First of all, I'm gonna say we should play that trailer they threw up on YouTube because I was really impressed with this and just kind of give a reaction here because not only does it still have the English, I mean they probably pulled out some clips from the story modes and stuff, but I've always really liked Gilgamesh's voice and the interactions with him and Amnelis, and this trailer here kind of goes into all that stuff.
It certainly does. If only my YouTube algorithm could.
Here I have it. I'll put it in there.
I might have found it.
It's in the chat there.
You linked it in our Discord chat. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, this was a very well choreographed trailer. Would like to see more of it, to be honest, because you really just don't get to see the marketing.
But when
out
I
for
when
voice.
I was watching this, I was like, man, I'm really gonna miss these voices and the story, and it kind of got back to that thread that we talked about a couple weeks ago. But I'm glad that this was here and put together. I really enjoyed watching this today.
Yeah, we'll let this roll.
Yet you too have power you keep unspent.
I like the music
I
choice
was
here too.
keeping that magic in order to materialize the remnants of your conscience. I suppose your presence here means that such a pursuit is no longer viable.
Correct. This is our moment of criticality.
Then this will be our true parting. I wanted to return to our time, side by side.
Don't let the Realm Scourge win.
I won't. I swear it. And I shall immortalize this armor that bears the legacy of your essence and your deeds.
I love this artwork. I love the kind of the melding of Amnelis and the two characters. It was an inspired
To
choice,
forget
I
the
think,
likes
by the
of
art
the
team.
Realm Scourge and no longer be burdened with the future of a populace.
And I mean, this is the character, right? This is the
mundanity
kind of the
would be
titular
like
character from the
with you
logo.
in it.
He was one of the first 100 cost units. Like,
Amazing. Yeah,
so yeah.
they killed it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, because you're right. It's thematic in what they've done, where his character artwork is finally removed the helmet. It's humanizing him. It's his connection to someone that he's lost. So it's like everything online, and then obviously him with her actual physical like garment on him, and even lore wise. I mean, slight spoilers, but they just recently revealed in the story like he has his brand new like piece of armor to wear against the Realm Scourge in that fight as part of them. Like that's a truly like meticulously made trailer. Serious props. The voice acting obviously is great, but even just the choreography, where the shattering of the glass and the glow of things and his eyes lighting up, and there's a lot of thought put into it. That's not just like, hey, we slapped on a alternate costume on a unit and here's some stock images of them. Do you know what I mean? That really does kind of
Yeah.
feel like they tried to bring that character to life.
I really love that line that he ends with. He says, kind of, reminiscing on Amnelis. I wanted to see what a life of mundanity would be like with you in it. And
Yep.
there's just kind of like that melancholy nature to him there at the end, and kind of him thinking back to his time with Amnelis that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, 100%. Excellent permanent pool unit added to the game. Worthy of it, that everyone get access to him at their own pace if they really want to. And he is a very good 100 cost unit. We are going to go through a little bit of what we know of him today. Let me just get these tabs sorted out. But yeah, brand new 100 cost ice unit. They've given him the unique main job of, I think it was Scourge Ender or something cool about the realm Scourge. But yeah, Sword Art Mage is an armor equipper. He does use slash type attacks, but they scale off a magic stat. So it is one of those magic scaling slashers. So, the slash type damage is not going away. That's still in full force here in the game at the moment. But a little bit of a different take on the spirit scaling aspect. And we'll go through this a little more in depth, but I'll talk about real quickly the tour de force of his kit that I know everyone's talking about. Is that on his second buff here, he does have a follow-up attack, which people love in this game, and rightfully so. Those are always so cool. They're very damaging. They're such an interesting X factor. But his is very special in that, it has a courage seal attached to it, which it is a courage unit. So not only do his normal attacks do it, but so do his follow-up attacks, so that if you have a teammate attack and he uses the follow-up attack on that enemy, their courage shield from afar. So that's huge. But I do like the two notable things about this. Number one, it is the higher modifier than we're used to. It's normally a 50% modifier. This one's a little bit higher at the 26% higher, or 36% higher than normal. And the second thing is the fact that it's also an absorb HP. So this is a pretty critical piece of him to just like constantly siphon back some of the damage he does. And he does do a fair amount of damage off this with the higher modifier, with the magic scaling capability that it scales off spirit, not defense, which we've seen such a meta tune toward with everyone equipping defense. He technically has this innate critical hit rate of 10 and the crit damage of 20, so that really like juices up that potential follow-up attack and trying to leverage the amount of critical damage that really like almost like doubles the damage in most instances. So, I'll let you talk next about things about the kit that you do like, but I know that's really like the bread and butter of what pops off the page.
Yeah, so before getting into the kit, I want to shout out this TMR, and we were talking about this one a little bit before we came on tonight. I really, really like this one because it has two different attributes to it, two different effects that neither of them are dispellable, which is pretty unique for TMRs. Like, you think about all the TMRs that we have, very rarely do they even have one effect that you can't dispel with just, like a regular, general dispel type ability. This one getting two on there, you're getting the honeycomb or force barrier. You get that between 10 to 40% of mitigation, between 4 and 7 tiles. And then you're getting an imbue on your attacks of a 30 healing power debuff. And because that's on hits, it does stack with other ones. You could throw this on June, and all of a sudden she's got the 80 healing power debuff instead of 50. Pretty strong, I think, overall. Not something that I would say I would pull him, just for this, but I think if you are going for Gilgamesh, it's a really nice piece, I think, that, you could potentially use instead of some other more mundane buffs.
Absolutely. And I actually want to take a second just to piggyback off that, a little recap of how the honeycomb barrier exactly works, because it's been a while since I think we've really talked about the mechanics. When Squall came out, we really did like a deep dive on it, really like drove it home how good this was. But the way it works is that between a range of 4 up to a range of 7, you get 10% resistance, and you get more, or 10% damage down, and that gets higher the further you are. And so at 4 squares away, it's only, and I say only, but it's still good, it's 10% damage reduction at 4 squares away. At 5 squares, you double it, it's 20%. At 6 squares, 30%. And at 7, it's technically 40%, but that's irregular to be 7 squares away. But that's a pretty enormous damage reduction that can't be dispelled, can't be imperiled, can't be nothing at this time. So nice to put it on a TMR here, on an accessory in particular.
Yeah, I absolutely, I love that about it, especially like if we think about in the future, if any sort of any strong missile unit comes into play as well, it just even gains more value there. In terms of the kit, though, I think, you kind of touched on the broad strokes there. I do really want to shout out his passive ability, giving him that CT break immunity. I really like that. He is weak to strike damage, a pretty large amount, actually, 15%. That's a pretty heavy weakness that he has to it.
Yep.
But at least, when you are going against that strike team, he's not going to have to worry about getting his CT down, which is one of the strongest attributes of that team, and kind of how they manipulate the turn order. He's got some other, pretty strong passives here. He's got, of course, Blade Soul with the agility and Spirit Pen, so I like that as well. This is a 50% AP unit, but his skills are pretty expensive, and he doesn't really have any decreased AP or anything. His limit burst is super expensive. So personally, I can even see, potential use for that AP consumption down if you're thinking about wanting to extend his AP. So you guys got some pretty nice options here. I like that his counter is also an absorb attack. It's got 30% proc rate, but it does absorb 50% of the damage. Not too heavy on the range, just range 3, but it is a preemptive, so pretty decent.
Yes, his counter ability very much underrated because he also does he have the healing power? Maybe he doesn't. I thought he did. Could have sworn he did somewhere. Maybe not.
No healing power, but he does have the reaction block and the debuff weakening, which we've been seeing a lot more of them lately, to be honest, and they're pretty impactful.
These are excellent because the reaction block is not only for some of these preemptive abilities, which you don't want to get hit ahead of time. If you're low health and they kill you before you hit, that can often be the difference between you finishing them before they finish you. So not only is it great for that, but so many, as a slash type attacker, so many counter abilities. A lot of these tanks and bruisers are just a flat percentage damage reduction of slash type attacks, and so this ruins the chance of that happening and reducing that damage. And even if you wanted to go super niche, I think there's some reaction abilities of evade units that go off. No, maybe that's their passives. Never mind. Bad take. But yes, the reaction block of 40 is awesome. The debuff weakening of 15 is awesome. I was
going to say, how many times can you remember watching a replay and you're at courage and you go into win the match and you get the preemptive hit and you lose on that? I mean, it happens, quite often these days with Joom's blowback, especially.
Yeah.
But
no.
he's got some pretty strong buffs in his kit. He's got a reduced physical damage of 25% there with the courage on his self buff, along with that follow up. So currently, no way to get around the reduction in physical damage, at least yet. I'm sure it's going to be coming, but he does have that, which is pretty good. He's got the physical barrier there of 7,500 HP. Very strong. He does have a magical barrier as well from the Sword Sorcerer.
He does.
Or from Blade Soul, rather.
Yep.
But that does increase his slash riz pen as well, which he's got 40 to start. I think he has 20 on his unique sword, and then so that should get him to 100%.
That is correct. So 20 here. Did he have some? No, he had none here. He's got 40 on his main passive. That gets him to 60. So yeah, that would get him to 100 after using that potential barrier.
And he's got the Spirit Pen on his job 25, so the penetrations are there. He doesn't have any area resist penetration like we saw with Sephiroth or Cloud, but the Esper that's going to be coming in next week, Chariot, does have that as a node.
Correct.
So they're kind of upselling you there.
Yep.
He does have the Crush though, of the 60% on the long range diamond. He's got the Dispel Shell, and we found out this is actually a big breakthrough that 2PM and myself and you as well. We figured out that this is actually bypassing the flat magical reduction that exists on Joom, for example, like on her self buff with her courage, and also Dario's aura, which is actually the same ID. We come to find out that Joom's reduced magical doesn't stack with any aura. It's actually the same effect at just a lower value.
Right.
But either way, this actually bypasses that. And that's very, very strong.
Absolutely is. I mean, particularly for Dario, where as a wind versus ice, there's no upside to bringing Dario into that matchup here as a magic tank. So it's really just not even a good matchup for him at all.
Which is actually really unfortunate for that unit, because there's finally a magic unit comes into the meta and he's not even going to be that, not going to be good at all against him, to be honest.
No,
so.
Terrible. I will say the only weakness, and it's not even a weakness, it's just less than average, is the accuracy perspective, that he does come in a little bit below the bar from what we saw for accuracy from Ashen Kingmont, from what Jum can potentially hit, from what units that specialize in it like Tifa and Kadaj have, from like a setting the bar perspective. He does have 2 guaranteed hits. One of them is this 120 ability, but this is not a gangbusters ability of his. If you can lock him into using this just because he can't hit you, not the end of the world. It's actually a pretty good spot to be in, but his limit break technically is also the 100% hit chance. And this is a good limit break. It, obviously the magic damage, but that frostbite at 67% in this AoE certainly can be a good game changer within the fight. There's yeah, I'll pause there on the accuracy. That's all I wanted to touch upon, but yeah.
No, I absolutely agreed. I think that I calculated out at 179 base accuracy, or innate accuracy, I should say. Which, if he had a passive for it, or some other bonus to it in his board, it's actually would be pretty good because like his dex and luck are in line with the other units we've seen. But missing out on a passive or like a plus hit ability really sets him a couple rungs below all the units you mentioned, and even Seifer as well, who's extremely accurate from what we've been seeing in his stats this week. So that's, I think, going to end up being probably one of his Achilles heels for sure. The other thing is, like, when we do start seeing elite barrier breakers come back in, like a Seifer, or I'm sure other units are going to come in. If he doesn't have that barrier, he is going to be a little bit weaker, in terms of his mitigation. He is, he's not, he does have some area resistance, but that's not really what it used to be these days.
No. I mean, he definitely has all the things you would look for. It's just going to be matchup specific because on paper, he's got almost everything you could want. He has the physical barrier. He does have a buff for the AoE res. He does have a buff for AoE wide resistance. But here's the thing. These obviously can be dispelled. They can be crushed. They can be bypassed. And so it's really just a question of the matchup. Who's he going against and how effective is this really? I don't really know what else you could realistically add to it because technically he does have like a heal back on the counter ability. His follow-up attack is a heal back here. He doesn't have the condition of like fall below a certain threshold, you regen health. That's a pretty popular one, but he's a courage unit that can very easily seal it, and you have the reduced physical damage 25%. So like, I don't know what else you could ask for. It's just a matter of the X's and O's and making sure it's working as you plan. Yeah.
Yeah, the courage seal is really, really strong for him because when he puts on his follow-up attack, that's going to innately imbue his attacks with courage seal. So whenever he comes around for his next turn, but if somebody then triggers his follow-up while he's waiting for his next turn, his follow-up also seals courage. So he could even get it in that sort of in-between space while he's waiting for his turn to come around. So the thing is, though, with him coming into the meta and follow-up attacks like Mont, like Gilgamesh now, courage is really much weaker than re-raise, when you're kind of comparing apples to apples and not considering like who's got the removals for it.
Yep.
Because what re-raise is, you can potentially come back with enough, HP to, still live, if you get hit with that follow-up attack. Whereas courage, you're just at 1 HP and, anything that hits you at that point, you're done.
Absolutely. There was one other thing I was going to mention. Oh, there are some great synergies. That was kind of what we're going to talk about more toward the end when you talk about like pull or not pull, and we don't really ever get into that. But one of the best things about him, in my opinion, is how easily he elevates a variety of different teams. That Ice has rebounded quite a bit as of late. And water absolutely has. And water, ice, that marriage of elements is absolutely awesome. Sword Red Mage, some of those units are slightly on the way out, but that's still overall a relatively strong class. And, we keep talking about it, and we're in the middle of summer, so we'll see a rerun of her soon. But Summer Glaciella continues to rear her benefits all these months later. It's not loading for me, unfortunately, now, but you talk about like putting him next to someone and damage mitigation. Like, not only can she bring that aura that it's technically stronger than his own, that's a nice thing, but B, she does have the accuracy in her aura that when you talk about accuracy as a weakness, he can certainly benefit from her giving that to him for free. And then the courage seal, she is a courage reliant unit and has no way to seal it herself. So all of a sudden, you pair the two of them. That's an immediate upside synergy, and amongst many others. You have not all these units are great, but you have the Ice Howlet, who is a similar type slasher, similar type concept of like regenerating health. You obviously have the benefits of just
Yeah, you
regular
could
June.
you could pull up the sword red mage slide of my my tool there, and
Thank you. I will do that. Um, I know Sephiroth is a popularly theorized unit because of the Vision card overlap, but just looking at the units here at the bottom, I mean, yeah, go ahead, JB, take it if you want. Like the
yeah, so like we haven't seen a unit or sword red mage since Glaciella, and she's really the only one that's still hanging around at this point. We saw a little bit of Howlets, kind of maybe when A2 first came out, and Ferris was played, I think, pretty much until these latest next gen units came around, and then she kind of got pushed out. Those two units I think are still strong, maybe kind of waiting on some upgrades or something else to kind of bring them back. But like you said, Glaciella is still an immense partner for him. Kind of at that point, like you said, you can bring in a Sephiroth because 8 cards they share to this point with the Katana group, including Glaciella's own card, which is a very strong one with the 24 area resist. I do think that Red Mage, as we've seen, with Glaciella already, does pair really well with Greatsword as well. We've got the Cloud card, we've got A2's card. Um, so yeah, a lot you can do with sort of different partners. I think that's one of the nice benefits of this job class is that it has very nice, um, not only the number of cards, but kind of good flexibility there with who they compare with.
Absolutely. And then even going the other way on the element wheel, I don't think it's the strongest matchup, but Ice with Earth, that if you wanted to go like Strategist Oldoa and Ashen King Mont, and Mont comes in with that unit in peril, all of a sudden those follow-up attacks of both of them are going to just absolutely crush you one after another. There's not as much synergy with, some of Gilgamesh's AoE crush because Mont is very single target attack oriented, but the general concept being that Ice and Earth does also have connections if you wanted some versatility in what you decide to build for. So, him as a unit. I'm sorry, I must have closed out early. Him as a unit fits into a slew of these teams, and honestly, one of my things about him, for better or worse, and I, one second, guys, I'm sorry, for better or worse, I kind of made this point earlier. I don't know if one second, guys. I lost his screen because it's not loading anymore for me, so I can't get back to him.
Just while you're looking for that, quick shout out to Numero in the chat who points out that courage is superior when you're thinking about curse and that interaction, and that's spot on. We're seeing a lot of curse and Sephiroth in the meta, and that's obviously you don't really want to be living and dying by re-raise, and if you get inflicted with that one.
No, definitely not. I'm just trying to pull up. I feel like you sent in the chat earlier the link to his page. Sorry, guys. Little technical. I got it. Here we go. Okay. So, after all that, where was I even going with my initial point? Shit.
The synergy of the skills were you talking about?
Yeah, shoot. Sorry, guys. I forgot what I was even going to say. God damn it.
So I got one while you're thinking. So in terms of like skill synergy, he actually does pair super, super well with Sephiroth. You think about Sephiroth, he does have an AoE crush of 60%, but it's on his job 25, which is pretty limited in its range. And he usually prefers to use his other, diamond skill. So Seph having the AoE crush at a super long range, that allows Sephiroth just to spam out that wide res removal, which Gilgamesh doesn't have in his kit. So that's a great synergy for the two of them.
Absolutely is. Yeah, I honestly never considered Seth, and Gilgamesh brought it up, but you're right. They cover each other perfectly in terms of getting rid of things. And I remember what I was going to say. I think a lot of what he does is a little. I don't want to use the word selfish, but there's not a ton of like benefit to the party that's exceptionally above what else everyone else does. Like he's got the 25% area wide res, but a couple of these units do. This is not exceptionally unique to pass that on to others. The AoE crush of 60%, kind of prevalent now. That's not like a crazy unique dispel. The Dispel Shell, like, okay, that's not really a huge game changer either. Like, to me, the thing that's so good about him is that he's very self sufficient. And although he doesn't necessarily do a lot to like elevate your whole party, you can put him in any party and he's going to shine because he's so self contained and he's so just like doing damage oriented. So when you decide to put him into some of these mixed teams, I think he can still function at a very high level because he is very self contained with what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, and he doesn't even necessarily need Glaciella because he does have his own 25%, physical
Bingo.
damage reduction. So, I mean, I was kind of, picturing him alongside Cloud, who has that same 25%. I think that's actually another pretty good combo. That's actually one of the things that I like most about this unit is that he's another building block in this new meta that really can be used with everything else that they've put before him. He can be used in the ice water. He can be used in the red mage. He can be used in the great sword. Can be used in the katana team. He can even with King Mont with the ice and earth synergy. So really, he can fit into all those pictures perfectly.
Yeah,
So it's
thank
pretty
you.
nice.
Yeah, that was in a nutshell. That's what I was trying to get to. That not every unit is that versatile that you can just put them in. Sephiroth is kind of one of them. You can put him anywhere, and he just has like one job, and he does it. And Cloud kind of is too, and Gilgamesh is too. Like that's a really good thing to look for, because it does allow your Viz to go for longer in terms of spending and pulling on this unit. That it's not a unit that's just like this like niche, one team only kind of upside. It's like no, this is a unit that you can use in a variety of places across a variety of different teams.
And so far, that's really how they've been building out this new meta. Is that I feel like each piece is something that can work in multiple teams that came before it. So like if you didn't have like the full greatsword team, like maybe you just had Cloud, this is a unit you could go to and you have a new team that you can start working with. Or like I said, maybe you just pulled Mont. Again, they work together. So I don't know. I think that, for a story unit, a lot of players I know they look to pass on them and certainly you could do that here with Gilgamesh, but if this is a character you were waiting for, I think that you're going to get a lot of value and potential play out of him.
I would agree. And just last thing, because we still have a lot to cover. Underrated. I love this ability on his sub job. I think it's very much debatable whether you would have the sub job on because I do like the idea of this potential magic barrier. But again, we're not in a magic meta, so this one doesn't matter as much, even with the slash pen. Even the Blade Soul one, you can also get slash pen a different way here. So there is some versatility in these sub jobs. This one's really nice for Guild Wars, though, just as you consider those second attacks or second defenses that as a unit that is a magic scaling unit, he's going to be at, 2k magic. And to give a ally a 210 mod heal and give himself haste, I think this is one of those abilities that can be used very well in those two fight situations to add some sustain and obviously add some haste and other shenanigans to the fight.
I absolutely love it as kind of a nod back to his original unit as well, because obviously he has the time mage and the self haste kind of built into his original kit. And he actually has some sort of heal or regen, if I remember correctly, that was just never used because he didn't have any magic. But yeah, he had this healing aura thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of a nod back to some of this original stuff, which I really really like.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, obviously we'll go in depth on our own character reviews shortly, but full steam ahead for Gilgamesh. He's an excellent, excellent unit. But certainly, I guess we can touch real quickly on the weapon just for visibility's sake. Human
Do
killer.
we
Yeah.
do we want to talk about the 12K paid thing at all? Rehash that at all, or
Yeah.
just
Yeah, we can. Let me just breeze through this really quickly. This is the 15 Human Killer. This is excellent for that follow-up attack because Human Killer is a major part of the modifier for the follow-up attacks. That 15% physical damage also really great for that 70% where because he's constantly healing himself, very often will you get back above that 70% threshold. That's an excellent part of his survivability in addition to all the other things we mentioned. And then obviously the slash attack and slash pen, certainly awesome. A very valuable 23 crit rate on this build. Like you see the double digits. This is a great weapon for him also coming out this week.
Yeah, I mean, there is like a couple of other interesting options too, like the blood sword,
Right.
or like even the flower ring with like the magical damage up and area resist. I think I like this one the best just because it's like a mix of everything, like
Right.
that helps help, all aspects of his kit. The reduced physical damage here, because it's like on this, box stat here, does stack with his buff, does stack with Glassy's aura. So 55% reduced physical damage with an aura tank is pretty chunky for him. I really, really like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, that's a good discussion to have. Is that 12K paid option where they did this with Joom? It seems to be the new normal where they're also going to do with Luciel. At least they did in JP. And the long and short of it is that you are able to buy this buy this unit for 12,000 paid, which is at worst $200 USD. Could be a little cheaper if you go for the pack H's. But you can buy the unit. They do come to you at level 1, so you do have to spend all the materials and additional shards, but it's technically cheaper viz than potentially pitying the unit and getting upwards of that, whatever it is now, the mid 30s to 42k viz to pity. And so, hot button topic when it first came out. We've had some time to digest. What do you think about it now?
I mean, I still have pretty mixed feelings about it. I still think that for what you're actually getting out of it, I still don't think that it's a great value. However, if you're just coming out of a collab like we are, and if you just pitied a bunch of units like I did myself, and the Viz stash is not there, and you do want the unit, which I do, it certainly is cheaper ponying up for 12k than it is ponying up for a potential 42k if I absolutely get boned on the banner again, which with the way things are going, is probably going to happen. So I don't know. I'm considering just outright buying it. We'll see when it comes around. So how much I want to gamble that morning with what viz I do have left. But I think on the other hand, I still do appreciate that it's just another option. Like they didn't take away the other options that are there, the existing options. Those are all still there. They still have all the existing banners that if this never existed, you'd be none the wiser. It is an additional option that people who find the value can take advantage of it if they want to. You can also choose to ignore it. So, I'm fine with that. My problem would be if they start eliminating the other options so that you're sort of more forced to go this route.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yo, Arendeer, welcome to the chat. I couldn't agree more. I love it as a flexibility option that it just depends on what you have for your stash. If you have an accumulation of paid, you want to use it on this. It allows you to manage your resources better. It technically is a way to hedge your downside in pitying a unit for what you might potentially expend. I mean, regardless, it's a good way for them to get a consistent amount of money too. That if they on average offer 1 unit a month at that price point, if that's the stable income they need, I'm okay with it. Because I still don't think it's necessarily pay to win. Because you still have to acquire all the extra resources. It's just that you get them for slightly less than you would, or not slightly, significantly less than you would otherwise. But it's still not cheap. This isn't pay to win. Like you're still spending $200 plus everything else potentially to insta-max them on day one, which typically requires more paid. Anyone that's maxing a unit on day one is also buying like the 2k paid values and the 120 shards for 2k and the other band. So it's like there's still a shit ton of money being spent. So while it is pay to win, it's like cheaper than normal. And I don't know how to say that. Yeah.
I mean, so if you think about it, like worst case scenario, you're paying what, like 40, like 36 to 40k for a pity on the unit. This does give you 200 shards, which is 10,000 Visior. So let's just call it 45,000 Visior so it's a 3-to-1 value, which I think is like the standard value that I'm looking at when I'm considering like paid to free ratio.
Yeah.
But yeah, what moderately apathetic says 12k paid is the desperation or whale play. I mean, it is, but I think one sort of counterpoint to that is I think that a lot of people do kind of buy small packs from or buy a pack each, maybe one a month or something like that, maybe one every 2 months, this is something that, if you know these units are going to be coming every month for 12K, you can start hoarding that paid viz. And that's what Aloha is planning to do. And I think that was something that I hadn't really considered before, but I think it's, a nice way to kind of allot out that paid viz and have something to save for it. So, that's just another way you can look at it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But we will keep going on here. That's the last we'll talk of Gilgamesh till the Q&A, but we'll talk briefly about Rairyu's Treasure Hunt, which is a brand new type of game mode. From what I can tell, you get a summon ticket that allows you to max your Rairyu. Yes, the OG dark missile-oriented Rairyu to level 120, and it's a type of PvE game mode where you go kill things and walk across the map and collect some treasure chests, and they drop like statue Alchrists, the things that you use for reincarnation and leveling up some abilities. But it also gives out a bunch of, like, this is a newly added to the game, select recipe tickets where you can select any MR equipment, permanent, not limited, I would imagine, but like permanent MR equipment. To be honest, I don't know how much that MR equipment is still valuable or not. There's probably a couple diamonds in the rough that you maybe haven't built ever just because you never needed to. I don't think this is a major game changer, but you know what? I don't hate it as a concept for the game for a new player to catch up with. It still gives us the statues, which I know if you're reincarnating units are still super valuable. I know I'm constantly low on my Alchrist statues. I like it. It's a fun concept.
I think that's exactly what I mean. It's a catch up or sort of a help for maybe some players who've come in for this collaboration or returning players that maybe they missed out on a bunch of the Farplane events. Of course, you can just, use a key to get in there, but it does consume a lot of energy and a lot of time, obviously. So banging out this one treasure hunt and maybe picking up a weapon or armor that you're, for one of your units, I think it's pretty good for the veterans. I don't think it's really much of anything, but
Actually, wait, can I do a special shout out? Who did it lately? Do you remember the Razal Gethi drop rates?
oh god.
So for those of you that don't recall, Razal Gethi has like the gun, original gun in the game, has like the most putrid drop rate imaginable. That even like I think it was like 1,000 energy, you might get like 3 recipes, something stupid. This actually might be a good chance for some of those people to snag that weapon if they still haven't crafted it, because it's damn expensive to go into the Farplane archives to go get it.
I mean, I've stacked up so many recipes at this point just because that Razal Gethi mission is the one for the Chocobo tickets. So
Yes, yes.
Nabani say in the chat says, "Is this Gumi's fix for the Farplane keys we can no longer get?" I'm not sure. I don't think that this is a recurring thing. I think that this is kind of just a special event. But at least with the Farplane archive, we do at a minimum we get a free daily key that you can go in and unlock something. So
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, I think it's still fun.
yeah.
Yeah, but we also have Guild Wars Supremacy coming up, and this is a end of the cup of all the limited Guild Wars that we've done, where those who were in the top 2 slots of limited Guild Wars get selected to be in final brackets, and those in 3rd and 4th place also get their own brackets here. And this is kind of the big Super Bowl of Guild Wars here, where it's a little unique in that they give you a predetermined schedule ahead of time. So it is a little more strategic in terms of what your guild might do. Now, not all guilds participate to this level, but at the top end, this is the kind of thing where you predict which walls you might run ahead of time and which offensive balance you might run, because they're going to be scouting you. And there's a lot of really high-level strategy going on to try to make sure that you don't reveal your hand too early. The limited Guild War map is the same map that we have been used to, but it did give a bunch of I'll see if I can share this. It did give a bunch of new map effects where this is ice, fire, water, light units, HP up. Sword Red Mage is getting magic damage boost or attack up. That's obviously for Gilg and Red Mage teams. And the Katana is getting a physical damage boost and magic up, which obviously Sephiroth and the like as well. So this is like a big, nice like umbrella for a lot of these newer units to get some kind of buff. But yeah, same Guild War map.
Yeah, I mean, this covers the majority of characters that has been released in the last few months here. Cloud, Joom. The only one really is Mont. It's kind of left out from any sort of bonus here, but he's still going to be very good. I'm sure we'll be seeing him. The one thing there is the 570 total cost. So that's going to be
Oh,
including your espers, that's including your vision cards and your units. So it's pretty strict, in terms of we're going to be seeing some funky setups, not only not only you're going to be seeing maybe some lower cost espers, but you'll be seeing some empty card slots. You'll be seeing some lower cost unit, like here's where like the 70 cost units come out.
yeah.
Your Lucias, your Lucios, maybe even some 80 cost units can come out. So yeah, we'll be cooking them up a storm here, I'd say.
I'm so glad you said that. I completely forgot it was the 570 cost. That changes a lot, to be honest. I mean, the team building is still kind of straightforward. The emphasis is characters first. Don't mortgage your characters. They're the strongest thing you can do. But yeah, you'll go for rarity espers. You'll do blank vision card slots. It's some very creative team building.
Yeah, maybe we should just touch on that real quick for folks that for people out there who are trying to like throw in your 40 cost units so you can fit in all 6 cards. That's not the conventional wisdom that we use at the top of the game. Just dump the second cards, go for primary slot cards only. Favor the job cards because they're going to be either 60 to 70 rather than 70 to 90 for your elemental cards. And then, you may even still need to mix in like a 70 or 80 cost unit if you're bringing like 2 100s.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah, the subvision cards are not nearly as important as the characters themselves. Make sure you have a good team. Whatever you can fit in afterward is gravy, but make sure the 3 units are really the driver of where your team is.
yeah, and then play to the map bonuses too, potentially. Not necessarily if it doesn't sort of fit your box of units, but those are going to be some nice bonuses for those units.
Yeah, absolutely are. Absolutely are. We do have a couple equipment upgrades, and these don't take long to analyze, but I think there's a fun one here that I decided to throw out, and one really good one. The first one is the least important of them all. It's the Demon Tree Staff. This is Shal's weapon, and they're giving her instead of the 8 AoE resistance, it's going up to 15 AoE resistance. And that's it. This is kind of a common thing they do for the 70 cost units. I know Griffith's Axe in the future is kind of a similar change where they just get the extra 7%. Doesn't mean as much, obviously, with the amount of penetration and crush that there is nowadays. And I think it's intentional because it is a 70 cost unit. It's not like a bonkers good upgrade to the weapon itself. I got no deeper analysis than that, though. It's fine, but not changing anything.
Did it always have this CT up effect?
It
For some
did.
reason I don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, it did.
It's a really great staff for her, but yeah, she's not really being used as much as she was.
No, it doesn't really change anything. But the other big weapon upgrade is the Sea Deity's Sword, and this one is getting an exceptionally good upgrade. Now, formerly, it was all element res of 10%, only when your HP was above 60%. Now, this sword is most commonly used on Summer Glaciella, but even the OG Fire King Mont was a benefactor of this, which was really good for him, also with the heal back. But the upgrade now is it's dropping that conditional HP. It's just straight up 10% all element res all the time. So a very, very good weapon now to be able to reduce that damage 100% of the time.
Yeah, I really like this one. Paladins can use this also, and even the Earth Mont I think gets benefit from this one for low cost stuff. So
Yes,
yeah,
he does.
I like this sword a lot.
It's a goodie. And they kind of dropped a surprise on us. We don't have it up because it's not in JP and we can't do anything with it. The Hydra Blaster Cannon, that's Summer Jaden's weapon, is getting a +6 as well. They haven't released in JP what it is. We don't know. It's kind of just being dropped in our lap here on Global. So excited to see what they do there. We thought the timing was a little suspect because, sure, Glassy's weapon is being upgraded, but hers was upgraded in JP. Are they doing this now because they're re-releasing a Jaden banner early? Is it just random that they're just doing it? I mean, who knows? But it's getting an upgrade. We don't know what, but we'll see.
Yeah, when I saw this one, I was like, is this something that just sort of slipped through the cracks as like an accidental, reveal here of what's maybe coming as a potential simultaneous drop? That's kind of where my mind went to with maybe an early summer unit. Like we don't typically see them in June. Usually they're July and August, but maybe they're going to do a couple rounds this summer. That's something that they have done in the past. So, that would be very interesting here to see, week 4, because over in JP, some people were like, wait, why did they release Lucio and her vision card the same week right before they went into the collaboration? And obviously, as a rerun collaboration, you would assume that probably Seifer and his vision card is going to be it, along with kind of the returning units. So that leaves week 4 and JP open as well. So we'll have to see what happens here.
Could be a summer unit. We will revisit that topic more toward the end here again. But for now, we did want to circle back on Seifer, who, now that we actually have the data on, we kind of had an inkling of some of the things, but just to really kind of nail home some of our impressions of the unit. And the spoiler ahead of time, this is an exceptionally good unit. Coming in 100 cost, Dark is of the Sword Warrior group, which, nice to shore up that group as well. There's a lot more synergy with them, and we'll get to this in a second, but his vision card aligns the Sword Warrior and Sword Knight group even more. Really great overlap there, but again, I'll kind of kick things off. The big notable thing about his kit is his giant AoE, where this is a calculated rend shaped cross, so it is not the full diamond shape. So against that AoE wide res, this actually is a advantageous AoE shape, because it still does a fair amount of damage as opposed to the full diamond, which gets mitigated a little bit more. But it's a break physical barriers, it's dispel, re-raise, it's the 60% crush and the 50 healing power down. And just part of his ability is that upon hit, this is part of his buff, it's decreased debuff weakening of 30%. So we've seen a big power creep in debuff weakening in the game. This will reduce on his hit, and it's allies as well, debuff weakening, but for him. So when you consider this singular ability, it's all of these things plus the debuff weakening down. Huge equalizer for the game at the moment. There's a lot more to look at in his kit, but that's what I wanted to circle in on first. What are your thoughts on Seifer?
I mean, he seems kind of poised to deal with kind of that team that we were just talking about with Gilgamesh. The Gilgamesh Sephiroth team over in JP has been very strong. And this move here, this kind of new age calculated rends, really deals with all of that in one swoop here, because you got the barrier break, you've got the crush for like the solid area resistance that Gilgamesh can get. Got the healing power debuff to kind of knock him down a bit. And you're getting rid of the re-raise on Sephiroth as well. So really, really strong attack there. He has the great synergy, like you said, with the Knight group and King Mont. So that seems like a really strong wombo combo there that you could put. Mont, obviously, he doesn't have the area attacks. Like, he's got a couple of small crosses, but I think when you just talk about kind of having differing damage types, having a strong AoE attacker, having a strong unit attacker, and they're both kind of bringing their own debuffs to the fight, I think that could be a pretty strong combo there. They're both going to be very very evasive with the cards that they have available to them. Really, really strong team. I kind of view him as a replacement next to Mont of Bradley.
Yes.
Kind of bringing this huge AoE attack here to kind of rend people, so to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I like using the term equalizer because it's one of those units, kind of like Cloud, where there's so much AoE penetration, so much crush, that it just kind of, all these buffs and all these things and moving pieces, it really just kind of brings everyone back to normal. So yeah, all right, you got a barrier, great, it's gone. You got AoE res, it's gone. It's got a healing power going down, and the debuff weakening is a critical piece of that, because let's just, again, as an example, this 60% AoE crush, if you had 30% debuff weakening, it's really only a 42% crush. Well, Seifer being able to bring your debuff weakening down by that 30 means you're getting the full 60% of this crush. And the same thing for the healing power. If you have debuff weakening of, let's say, 30%, you reduce the healing power down by 30%. Sephiroth doesn't allow you to do that. You're getting the full 50. You got to take it. So I like what he does there to kind of just even the tables on a lot of these buffs, and being able to ensure that he can set his team up to do the damage they want to do.
Yeah, so I don't think that he has any AoE penetration.
No.
And again, similar to Cloud and Sephiroth. They so far have been relatively unique in that avenue. What he does have though is the combination of the 4-hit 50% barrier and the 50% drain that he can do, which even Joom doesn't have that barrier. So that's really, really strong for him in terms of his survivability. The one thing he's missing though is any sort of fallback mechanic. He doesn't have a re-raise. He doesn't have a courage that, if somebody comes in and kind of sets up a chain on him and it doesn't proc that heal back yet, another unit comes in and just chains him down. Well, at that point he just dies, and there's nothing that's going to stop him to then heal him back. So that I think is kind of one of his deficiencies and weaknesses as a unit, and that just I think increases Lucille's value kind of next to him.
Yeah, and just quick, Caesar just pointed this out. The debuff weakening, does it have effect before the effects of the attack? I thought it did. That upon hit, it reduced the debuff weakening, but you're right. Technically, it maybe doesn't affect this on the first hit. I actually would have to play with that. The timing of when the debuff weakening comes into the calculation, if you know what I mean. Because these are technically like pre-hit, because it's pre the damage. I got to think about that more.
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head either. I think I would again, we would need to see this live in action to say for sure.
Yeah, but still, we haven't even scratched the surface on everything. He does have the guaranteed hit chance, really great luck stat. We'll talk about the vision card soon. He's got a dispel on his limit break, and this single target ability is a 60% single target crush. So this is going to just whatever unit res you have, get some of that AP back for himself as well. That heal back you mentioned, really strong, and in conjunction with Lucille, who can give re-raise and re-raise sale, as you pointed out. Really great synergy. Even her card came out for Sword Knights, which Seifer Sword Warrior. I'd have to look at that matchup a little bit closer, but this TMR also not a bad one either. You get that this is for himself and an ally. It's reaction block of 50, but more than that, it's a 10% physical damage reduction as well. So then you talk about all these different ways you might be able to mitigate some enemy damage. This one's not enormous, but it stacks with a lot of things, and it's upon hit, so you can spread it around the battlefield pretty easily.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree on this TMR. I really like this one. Similar to Gilgamesh, it has some unique things here that we don't see on a lot of TMRs. That physical damage reduction is going to be a pretty nice piece to sort of increase your survivability. I did want to say though that in terms of like the meta that they've been building up here with these various units, we talked about Gilgamesh before and Seifer here. Seifer, obviously, like I said, he is kind of poised to battle against Sephiroth and Gilgamesh both, but at the same point, I do think that Sephiroth, if he is able to get off his curse ability onto Seifer, that's obviously going to hurt him substantially.
Yep.
Because he's, again, similar to Joom, he's a bruiser that is draining back and sort of relying on that barrier. So I do kind of like that there is, it's not sort of set in stone that these characters are countering each other. It is kind of, who hits who first, and there's some like X's and O's there that, can change the fights and some strategy involved that can sort of put things in your favor.
Absolutely. Well said. I completely agree. But yeah, we'll pause there because then we'll do our reviews. He's still a couple weeks off, but we at least wanted to revisit him now that we saw everything set in stone. We will talk briefly about the vision card here too. This one is a nice card from the perspective that Sword Warrior and Sword Knight, neither of these classes have an AoE main slot card, and this one comes in at 24% area resistance. So not only does it give them both a new AoE option, but you can marry the two of them together and create a new synergy. So from that perspective alone, I like this card a lot. The slash resistance, it's topical to the meta. How far does that actually get you from a damage reduction perspective? It's not enormous. Every little bit helps though. So this one, okay, I'll take it. Thanks, Gumi. That's nice. But the Human Killer, I do like too. That's one of those ones that as a universal modifier, I'm assuming it's on physical hit, not magical hit. But Sword Warrior and Sword Knight tend to be physically oriented anyway, so I'm not terribly concerned about that. The rest of this, it's fine. The hollow effect is really nothing to even analyze. Quest effects really don't mean much, but I do like the overall coverage of units that this creates bridges to, as a potential building block for the future as well. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so Fist is definitely on there as well to answer Chris Metz in the
Yes,
chat.
yes, Fist. Yeah, and a good shout out. Fist is important to be on here too.
So yeah, I mean, obviously Fist has kind of taken a little bit of a dive here over the last, couple of months since the Great Swords took over. But, you know, Alaya is going to be getting some upgrades here in the future. She'll be getting an MA2, maybe an LB upgrade. Maybe things can change for that team. Obviously, the Sword B and Sword C have already established like a pretty good relationship together, like the Lucio card and Yuffie card, I think, as well. And they share multiple cards at this point.
I was gonna say I was looking at this before because they're pretty enormous. The Halloween Lucio card here, which is the luck and agility percent. I love that they share the new Lucio Vision card here. This is the unit res, but it's also the slash res pen and slash attack in those main slots. And then you have the Seifer card now. That's the area res and the human killer. So you have like 3 primo overlap cards here. The fourth
all primary slots too. That's your
right.
agility unit, area resist.
Bingo. Bingo. And then obviously for like a sub slot, sure. You have that MR rarity card. That's the attack percent and the crit damage. Could you substitute with something else? Maybe, probably, likely. But those 3 that we just pointed out are like chef's kiss for a well-rounded team.
Yeah, so I think for players out there that maybe you skipped over the Greatsword meta, but maybe that same player has invested in new Lucio, maybe they invested into Halloween Lucio. Seifer, I think maybe could be good for your account because all those units are going to work great together with those cards there. So yeah, I would like that quite a bit.
Yeah, and not for nothing, mono element is fading a little bit. It's still around. It's just a little harder to pull off, but as far as dark units go, dark has been relatively power crept to the point that I'm going to say that most of these units are nigh unusable with no hope of reuse in the future, which I know is kind of a crazy statement to make. Let me just filter on the UR here. But like, Lunasis Ketone, great unit still. Thumbs up. Raph, her recent upgrade, serviceable. Not amazing, serviceable. Sephiroth, OG Sephiroth, difficult to use. Still a spot with the Monokatana team with the new Sephiroth. I actually think he's gotten a lot better as of late. I think he actually looks a lot better. But the rest of these units are like never going to see the light of day. So if you're talking about a new dark unit for a future dark team, if that's how you still want to play it, I don't know how you pass on Seifer because the rest of what dark has is really not there.
I think I might take Vivi for a spin when Seifer comes out, because the AoE crush for him maybe could be pretty interesting, maybe for like a wombo combo there with the stun, and Black Mage is another one that does work very well with Warrior as well. They share the heal card and I want to say 1 or 2 others. So obviously Vivi has his own deficiencies, like you had that showcase there, but
so I was going to point that out. I had all my hopes dashed for any Vivi usage after that show. When I see Vivi just died two hits to nearly everything, he didn't even have a chance to limit break. No, nothing, like no seals. It was over so fast. It made me hard. It made it hard for me to have copium.
I mean, I think you need like another piece for it to be compelling. Like he obviously needs some kind of aura or something to allow him to live like a 3rd hit. But I think like once you got that crush in there, like his damage, if he gets the stun off and then can pull off another move, maybe there's something there. I'm not saying it would be incredible, but maybe it's usable.
Yeah, he's definitely closer than 95% of what else is here. That's for damn sure.
True.
But yeah, we'll keep moving along here. We're pretty much close to the end of what we wanted to do. We had 2 little Q&As here to kind of wrap things up with a bow for a few different topics we've touched on. We figured just talk about Seifer versus Gilgamesh versus Luciel. And, those 3 units, maybe some decisions to be had in terms of what's best for your account, who's really great, who's worth pulling. Is anyone really significantly better than the others? Who's the worst of the 3? Marry, fuck, kill. Seifer, Gilgamesh. I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, well, we can talk to this. If you were to say like Seifer, Gilgamesh, or Lucille, who do you think is probably like the most impactful unit for War of the Visions? Or maybe for the average player. I guess I can reframe that question.
I'm gonna. I mean, it's a little bit account dependent because Seifer works better, like I said, with warrior knight stuff. So like if you don't have like this ice water greatsword stuff that's been built up, Seifer is better. Like if you have Mont, if you have Lucio, that sort of line of units, Seifer is obviously going to be more impactful, better fit for your account. Gilgamesh overall for those players that have invested into ice water, have invested into units like Summer Glaciella, even the greatsword teams and the katana teams. Gilgamesh, I think, is probably has the most flexibility into like different, you know, pieces or teams that you could put him into. Lucille, I think, has that potential as well. Like as a support unit, I think that she has a lot of potential into different teams. If I'm picking between the three of them, I think that she's the first one that I would cut out, though, just because I think although she is very powerful and she has some unique capabilities, I think that she is the most replaceable. Like, I don't think you necessarily need a support, especially with Curse running around, out there that, great, she can give you re-raise, but Sephiroth comes in and just eliminates it even if you sealed him. So
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
That eliminates her great healing and stuff like that. So I think that she's the better long play that you can maybe break her out and get more value out of her once Sephiroth has faded a bit here in a few months. And that sort of lines up with, okay, maybe you get a 2K select and can pick her up much cheaper at that point. The harder choice is Gilgamesh and Seifer for me, and I think that is going to be account dependent.
That's a great answer. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think both have perks. I personally lean a little bit more towards Seifer because I think what the effect of what he has on the battlefield from an intangibles perspective can go the distance longer. Gilgamesh to me seems more like damage dependent, as we mentioned. Like he's really dependent upon that follow up attack, and like some of the Diamond, it's not a lot of like team fight influence other than the courage seal. A lot of what he does for the teammate buffs is very replaceable. Like Dispel Shell, great, no big deal. Magic tanks are not a big threat. Okay, Dispel magic damage. Okay, that's necessary for him. But you're not bringing other mages in that team with him, so that magic Dispel is not a huge value add to some of your teammates. Although maybe you could. Maybe you fit in Ice Howlet and have some fun with that. But I think Seifer has more for longer. But I think Gilgamesh is likely an easier slot in for most people because I think most people have pulled on the A2s and the Celestial Jooms and probably have a little more of the Ice and Water and Sword Red Mage and the Summer Glacialis. Yeah, I agree with you. Virtually everything there.
Yeah, it's kind of two different tracks. It's like when we go back to what we said when Mont came out, is like, are you gonna go for Mont or are you gonna go for Cloud? Like they're kind of two different branches in these job trees, and I think depending on which way you went there, I think it kind of a similar line you can kind of take here with these two.
I like it. And VJ Raj is getting a step ahead of us here. He's saying, guys, hear me out. It's not Gilgamesh, Seifer, or Lucille. It's going to be the new summer unit that they're going to announce. And number one, I don't disagree. Listen, summer units, as of late, the last couple they've released, the summer units have been awesome. Summer Glaciella, Jaden were amazing. We're likely getting a third here. But our last Q&A was to talk about which...
So real quick, before we get to this one, so kind of continuing on with my tinfoil that I was throwing out earlier about the Jaden gun and everything and the potential like simultaneous summer drop. So what? Oh my gosh. I completely just lost my thoughts. Keep going with the summer. I'll come back to this.
Okay. Well, we thought, damn, now you got me hyped up. We were going to do a fun little Q&A to say like who are our top 3 units that we'd like to see as the summer unit. And there's lots of candidates. A lot of people have already been picked for holiday and seasonal events. But out of our 3 favorites, did any 3 stick out? And I know I have my 3 off the top of my head. I don't know if I'm going to proceed with that. I think the one that I've always said that I think deserves a second character that has not gotten it is Whisper. I'm a huge stan, always have been, but I can't think of a more like lore relevant character she's literally in the story quest like all the time. She's still in every story, and yet it's this old 70 cost unit that literally can't even play. You literally can't even play her. The game has completely surpassed her. I max reincarnated her. It was like the worst game decision I've ever made in War of the Visions. It's literally unplayable, even in limited Guild Wars 70 cost formats. Just absolutely nothing. This girl deserves to be able to go out on the beach and have some fun. So Summer Whisper is my number one, but I do have a 2 and a 3 also.
All right, so back to my thought that I just completely face flopped and
found it, though.
and forgot my thought. So like I was looking at all the next gen units that have come out so far. They've literally have hit every element except for one so far, and
Yes.
they've hit two elements twice,
Yes.
which is ice and water. The thing is though that the duplicate of those elements have been 90 costs. So there's been exactly one 100 cost unit for each element thus far, except for one, and it is the wind element. So I was thinking with this hydro pump blaster and potential upgrades coming in for Summer Jaden, maybe we're going to be seeing like a wind, like a summer wind unit here in short order. So that was sort of my crackpot theory there. In terms
I'm
of
with
like,
you. It has to be, right? Wait,
Yeah.
wait. Can we segue for
it
a
seems
second?
like very deliberate at this point what they're doing with kind of giving each element its own flagpole sort of next gen unit.
We were just talking about this in the Howl Discord. Wind has gotten absolutely hosed in the last 8 months. That Dario the
Yes.
Crystalborn released and dead upon release. Veritas of the Heavens is actually a really good unit, but very small window of opportunity. Zidane really just did nothing. Lena was a complete flop. Edward Elric, which is now at this point over a year ago. It's been a year since Full Metal was released, and he really fell off a cliff once the strike res came into the game. Wind has been terrible, by far like the worst element in the game the last year, I would say.
They're like one vestige that they were holding on to is Summer Glassy. They finally managed to kill her with all this AoE res pen and the crushes.
Right.
They finally got her out of the game.
Yeah, yeah. But the Wind is just completely not unplayable, but like kind of unplayable. Like it's really difficult. And so yeah, a Wind unit, I would love for the Summer unit to hit that. But yeah, what's your number one pick here so far? We'll go through the others.
So I think my number one or my top two are going to be like Summer Perrine and Summer Satya. I can see them kind of dipping into the Warriors of the Crystal, and those are probably like my top two waifus from there.
Sorry, waiter. Yes, I'll have 2 of those, please. Thank you. Yeah, that. Whatever he's
I
having.
actually would. I know that she's like a global unit, but I'm pretty sure that JP was pretty fond of Elena as well. I could see like a Summer Elena potentially. I think she's like a pretty popular character. She's been kind of dead in the meta for a while. Maybe that's another avenue that they could go.
That would be super fun. I like all those options. I know my personal number 2. People in the chat already said it. I actually am 100% on the Summer Engelbert train. If they already came out with Jaden as like 8-pack, Engelbert deserves to be there too because he is still lore relevant. This dude, Engelbert, literally went out and like 1v1 to the Realm Scourge. He's like, I'm just gonna go fight him. Okay, this thing that's just absolutely killing armies across all of Arja, Engelbert just goes out on a whim and dueling this dude. And it's at that point too where that character no longer reflects the actual lore of what he's supposed to be. So I do think a summer unit for Engelbert would be a good way to close the gap and bring a character who's should be more game relevant to match the lore relevancy. I think a summer Engelbert absolutely would be awesome. My third personal pick, though, go ahead. Were you going to talk about Engelbert? Do it.
I was just going to rebut the Engelbert thing. So
Yeah.
so personally, I'm on board with that. I would like to see it. I would pull for it absolutely. I know that a number of people have been calling for it and would absolutely pull for it on global. My one sort of pushback on that is that I think Road to Worldwide completely killed any chance of that happening because they are at this point catering to the JP audience, which in the summer they like their summer waifus, and I think it's just a better seller. They want to get the revenue and income for the game, and I think that's going to fall on the shoulders of some bikinis here.
I will not disagree, which is why
And not on the speedos.
my favorite pick, Nivlu, would be a stellar summer unit. If you were going for waifu, this is another unit who's still lore relevant, has come to join Mont's side, join the harem. He's got lots of them already. Put this girl in a bikini. Absolutely would love to see a summer Nivlu. You talk about trying to bring Missile back into the forefront. If they go with a Missile unit, that's a new Gen 4th anniversary unit. Absolutely would love to see her on the docket.
I loved her sort of redemption there in the story, and yeah, she's a longtime favorite of mine as well. I could see her fitting into the wind element. They're like a big bow heavy element,
Yeah,
so I could totally see them doing that.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, that's all we wanted to talk about today. Again, there's not a ton of new content per se, but we are in a spot where we have a lot of cool things to look forward to. Gilgamesh and Lucille and the Final Fantasy VIII collab, and I'll be honest, I'm very hopeful for a lot of the upgrades that Final Fantasy VIII got. I don't love everything, but I think those units were not terribly far off, and I think they were appropriate upgrades. So I think it's some good stuff coming here in the future. Obviously, sprinkle in maybe a summer unit to throw an X factor into the wrinkle of things, but overall, I think the game balance is kind of getting back to where more is becoming playable. It's still not awesome. It's still like just 10 to 12 units. And I still think you and I both in our hearts agree that the MA3s need to come yesterday. Those are still crucial upgrades we absolutely need. I do not want this to be the permanent bar with no hope of 170 other units never getting a chance to play again. Do you know what I mean? But the game at least feels like it's starting to change.
I think they did right by Squall. You know, if you look at his upgraded force barrier, absolutely phenomenal upgrade for him that he gets it between range 2 to 5 now instead of between range 4 to 7. That's going to be massive for his survivability. And I think it's actually going to allow him to do what his job should be right now, which is to counter Jum and sort of hard counter her, which I think he absolutely will be able to do once these upgrades come through. So if you were a big Squall person, you know, and you built him up from before, this is going to be a really nice, you know, addition for him.
Absolutely. And there's still other things. I think, what was his weapon? I think he got CT up on critical hit. Yeah, 50 CT upon critical hit. Like, that's not nothing. I like that. Obviously, a lot of crit rate here. The other thing they did was, number one, they upgraded the Ragnarok as well. That I think that went to a free 15 strike res. So you talk about Squall and his kind of like anti-strike niche as well. This weapon is part of that, or equipment is part of that. And yeah, I do like what they did for the AoE pen for him because he is a very AoE heavy unit. That was flat on the mastery ability, AoE penetration. I mean, even his limit break, I think they gave him the break barrier, and it's a unit res for that quad hit. 100% hit chance. Like, that's an excellent limit break upgrade just to like nuke someone. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, this character was very mid when he came out, and I think that they went extra on the upgrade here, so I think that's appreciated, especially for the people that maybe were a bit disappointed when he first came out.
Yep, and honestly, it wasn't all of his fault because, again, Lightning was kind of starting to fade, but Sword Knight was very much on the way out. That when he came out, Bradley was still okay. Stern was diminishing. Lightning was fine, but there was some time there where the Pixel remaster like hadn't fully finished yet, and she still was whatever. But the rest of these units are not good units. Oh, look, it's Whisper again.
The cards weren't there yet either
The
because
cards
like
weren't there.
Melania's card was delayed and
Right.
you know, all that stuff was going on. So yeah, it was the timing thing definitely did not help him out at all.
No, but now the game balance has changed. I'm really glad that they're trying to give him a second life here. And to be fair, Irvine too. I mean, this gun looks great, in my opinion. You get the human killer, 20 defense pen, the crit rate. Overall, like, not exceptional for every upgrade, but like the extra physical damage reduction of 25% for 2 hits. That 30 human killer, like, I mean, what else can you do for him? I don't hate it. Yeah. Could be worse.
Yeah, I'm still not sure. I'm still not sold on him, but yeah, I think he got some decent upgrades, definitely.
Yeah. I'm not either, but could be worse. He could be fucking Ice Helmet. You guys. You
Oh
see,
God,
you see this
I
shit?
don't want to look at this.
You guys want to see JV fall apart in real time? Look at this shit. Nothing.
20% magic damage is his upgrade.
That's it.
Absolutely brutal.
Oh man, but we will call it there. We have a Celtics game to go catch the end of. What is it? Oh my God, it's 86-67. Sorry to spoil. Oh, sorry, JV. Hey, listen,
No worries.
they can rally. Anything's possible, but we're definitely.
It's a good spoiler.
It is. But we'll quit there. Thank you again, everyone, for participating in the chat. Thanks for being here. Good luck pulling Gilgamesh if you are in a couple days, and that's all we got for now.